Welcome to Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis, brought to you by the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame in Elkhart, Indiana. I'm Tim O'Malley with Tim Prister of Irish Illustrated, John Brice of Football Scoop, and we are live from the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. About 20-hour delay after the tragic events of January 1st. We are going to use as much as possible of our camera time to talk about the game tonight, but there's still bearing on what happened because it changed both Georgia and Notre Dame's football schedules. We, of course, got the breakdown of that from Notre Dame Media Relations, and I found it interesting that Notre Dame Georgia was able to come out here, do a walkthrough. Notre Dame had a hotel where they could actually do a lot of team activities in the hotel. If you think about it, Notre Dame has been basically condensed as a program since the 21st or 22nd. They didn't go home for Christmas, JB. They've been together, and they were really together on this trip.
Yeah, and Georgia did go home for Christmas, as we've noted. I was told that Georgia players got approximately 3 days home, 23rd, 24th, 25th. They had obviously had a longer break between games, so they felt they were able to do that. Notre Dame, as you point out, has been unified together in all settings, nonstop, really, since December 13th or 14th, that weekend, I guess maybe the 15th, after they had a couple of days off. They've been together nonstop since December 15th. That's an interesting component of this game. One, and I know we're not going to delve too much on the tragic events. One thing to note, though, that's just I've heard about is that some Notre Dame players, and I'm sure there's some for Georgia, their parents had to leave. Their parents are not going to get to see the game today because they were already committed to travel that couldn't be rescheduled, or when they tried to reschedule, the earliest thing was Saturday. Some family members had business that they had to get back to on Friday. Really terrible event. Some other people, some other family members of Notre Dame staffers have left because they just were so traumatized by the event they did not feel comfortable.
And because the game's been moved up, you wonder if some of those people will have an opportunity to see the game live before they get home. I mean, there's a very realistic chance that they don't. So that's that's really unfortunate as it relates to the process that Notre Dame went through pregame and Georgia went through theirs a little bit different. I'm having a hard time finding any real difference or value without really knowing how these two teams are going to play.
Well, I think the real difference might be that Georgia hasn't played in a while and Notre Dame has.
No,
because
that's
to
true.
Date, that has proven to be to the benefit of the team that has played last week. Now, two of those teams were in trouble anyway. Yes. One of them wasn't necessarily.
Oregon certainly did not look like they were prepared to play. I don't want to, some of these are kind of one-offs, so I'm not prepared to put too much into that. But Notre Dame's played. Georgia hasn't, so let's see if Notre Dame can actually take advantage of that.
On the field of play, we've covered most themes from this game, and I still think number one is Riley Mills' absence the straw that breaks the defensive line's back in the fourth quarter.
And we'll learn early if that's the case, because you have to believe that Georgia, whether it takes the first possession or whether it gets the ball second and Notre Dame is left to take first possession, Georgia will establish early or try to establish early whether or not it can dominate Notre Dame up front. We will get a glimpse very early of what Notre Dame's plan to combat Riley Mills' absence is, and if they're going to bring any linebackers a little closer to the line of scrimmage. Can the linebackers get off of those blocks? And how much does Georgia try to do with Gunnar Stockton and his mobility? I do think, while it's probably overall a moot point, and I talked to an SEC assistant coach this morning to ask his thoughts on who he thought the game delay benefited. His initial thought was he thought one more day benefited Notre Dame because they had played more recently, and so it was one more day of rest, and also the point that it's one more day for Gunnar Stockton to have to think about making the biggest start of his life.
I think that Georgia, regardless who their opponent was, they were going to want to try to establish a run right away anyway, because Gunnar Stockton is now in the lineup. But I absolutely agree with you, John. There's no doubt. Let's see if Notre Dame without Riley Mills is in a position to stop the run. They have a couple really good ones. I like Etienne. I like Frazier. I totally agree. I think they'll test Notre Dame right away, see what they're made of up front.
They stay on the defensive side of the ball. Georgia has been inconsistent running the football this year. I mean, it's a clear plan now because of Notre Dame losing one of its best players, but they've been inconsistent. At times they look very good running the ball. If they're unable to, the advantage goes to Notre Dame heavily on third down, because Notre Dame's secondary is the best playmaking. I don't know if they're the best secondary in the country. Ohio State, there's other teams that have it. They're the playmaking unit. Notre Dame will rely on it, and if you thought they played man-to-man against USC, this is a situation to play man-to-man when you need a little help in the box anyway.
Well, yes, and I would contend USC had better wide receivers than Georgia, and Notre Dame survived that game, and certainly Jaden Maiava was not in his first career start. So there was that, and they were the home team. So I do think if Georgia does not establish the run early, then Notre Dame has a chance to really completely set the tone and put all of the pressure on Georgia.
Priester, before we get to offense, I want to go back to special teams because you wrote a riverboat gambling story with Marcus Freeman, not only about his special teams calls and guts, but also fourth down and how that affects games. It's got to come into play again at some point today. I mean, we're not saying that a fake is going to happen, but either a fake or a blocked field goal or an influence punt or a block punt or something along those lines, a fourth down decision, this is going to be paramount in a game that should be played to the final minutes.
Or simply going for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
We noted the other day that Georgia's been bad defensively going against teams that are running a fourth down play. Yeah, there's no doubt. And we also talked the other day about the fact that Marcus Freeman has to remain true to Marcus Freeman, and he was aggressive. That's what got Notre Dame here. I'm very, very confident that's how he'll coach. That's how he's coached from the very beginning. He's learned a lot along the way, but being aggressive is part of his DNA, and I'm sure Notre Dame will stick to that.
I'll pretend this is the head coach's press conference because this one's for both of you. What's the best way for Notre Dame to stay ahead of the chains offensively? Because I think we can all agree if Notre Dame is behind the chains offensively consistently today, it's going to be a problem getting to 20 points.
Well, I think it's Riley Leonard. It's probably more RPO action from the offense today, and they used it over the course of the season when they had to, but they didn't really use it against Indiana, as we've discussed. They went very vanilla in the second half of that game when they knew it was over.
Well, either Notre Dame has to throw the football on first down a little bit more, or Riley Leonard has to keep the football a little bit more. I think you need to maybe widen the field a little bit against Georgia. If you throw the football, Aeneas Williams has been a great target for Riley Leonard to throw to. Go ahead and continue to target him, and it's never a bad thing to throw the football to Jeremiah Love either.
I'm going to give it one last chance to bring up Jadarian Price. I think he's the key to this game. If Jadarian Price has 8 carries, there better be 2 chunk gains in there because his propensity to suffer a run stuff is going to present again today. And, of course, Jeremiah Love. He needs to be Jeremiah Love. When he breaks away, that's got to go for 60. It's something he does every week. It's not too much to expect, but when he finds a crease, it's got to be the same thing it was against teams that do not have the athletes in Georgia. He's got to hit it again.
And the last thing to that point for me is, as we talk about RPO, if Notre Dame has some early success, then look for Riley Leonard to have the option, especially against those aggressive, athletic Georgia linebackers, to pop one over the middle to Mitchell Evans that could be a game-breaking play.
Tim, I have a question for you. The line has switched in Notre Dame's favor. Why do you think that's happened?
Sometimes I think that's dumb money when it gets closer to a football game. I hope not. It could be because something as innocuous as the 3 teams that had byes losing. I don't think that would be smart money either because I think they are one-off situations. And as we pointed out, 1 lost to the best team in the country and 2 are supposed to lose anyway. This is going to be in my opinion, I will be shocked if this is not a fantastic football game where you are peeling the winners and the losers off the field.
I feel confident that Notre Dame, I'm not saying that Notre Dame is going to win the game, but I feel confident they absolutely can come in here today and win this football game.
I feel confident it's going to be incredibly close. That's why I had no idea what to pick, although it's going all the way through the way it is. I can't remember a game, maybe Ohio State in 2023, but then there was a home field advantage involved, and you felt that had to be ND. This doesn't have to be anybody at this point.
No, I agree with you. It's going to be decided in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame has proved it's a pretty good team in the fourth quarter. It just has to get this game to the fourth quarter.
That's it pregame for us. This has been Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis brought to you by the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame in Elkhart, Indiana. We'll be back postgame after Notre Dame and Georgia in the All-State Sugar Bowl.